Good noon, everyone. Welcome to Papua New Guinea ASEAN 2000 APEC 2018. Sorry, nagkagulo-gulo. We just came from Sekmon and I came from the ASEAN in Singapore. Tapos dire-diretso kami dito sa APEC, Papua New Guinea, kaya may mix up. Pasensya na. So welcome to APEC in Papua New Guinea. Sekmon and I just came from the APEC house, and we are here to entertain questions from Malacanang Press Corps. We would like to recognize the following media entities who are present today. We have ABS-CBN, represented by Vivian Gulia. We also have GMA 7, represented by Jam Sisante. TV5, represented by Dale De Vera. PTV4, represented by Marita Moahe. Radyo Pilipinas, represented by Alvin Baltasar. The Philippine Star, represented by Ace Romero. The Manila Bulletin, represented by Jenaline Kabiling. And Nikkei, represented by Cliff Venzon. I have with me Secretary Mon Lopez to give us a briefing on the APEC 2018 and what has been discussed during the entire conference. Secretary Mon?
Hello. Hello. Yes, good afternoon. So we are pleased to report to you that our President has, of course, we came from ASEAN, as mentioned by Secretary Andanar, wherein ang ating Presidente participated in the ASEAN and proceeded directly here in APEC. So since yesterday, our President joined the CEO Summit and the APEC leaders meeting with the APEC leaders as well. And the purpose ng ating Pangulo in attending international cooperation and international organization meetings is really to push for the inclusive globalization that he has been really that he's passionate about. And what does that mean? Our president has always pushed for a kind of globalization that is inclusive. That means bigger nations really empowering and helping smaller nations. And at the same time, as the smaller nations are empowered and would generate the capability to manufacture, the capability to provide services for the bigger countries to have a much more open market access. No? It's like a big brother principle, wherein the bigger countries would be, in a way, helping empower the smaller countries. The main discussion, really, the topics is really about digitalization of micro SMEs. Those are the keywords that's been discussed yesterday as well as in this morning's session. We were not able to join the leaders' discussion yesterday with the ABAC leaders kasi limited yung attendees. It's really just our president and the private sector counterpart ng ating APEC Business Advisory Council. Yung chairman po nun ay si Tommy Alcantara. And but based on feedback and the inputs really shared by the president was, I mean, we were getting good feedback as to what the presidents mentioned. The messages of the president were very clear in terms of making sure that, again, yung globalization should not really affect the small countries, and at the same time the smaller players in small countries. So in other words, we have to make sure, he mentioned that we have to make sure that the globalization will really benefit everyone. So ang isang sinabi niya doon would be, lalo na ang mga micro SMEs. We have to empower them. We have to also make sure that they are given the proper training, human resource development, and as they prepare also for this, the digitalization of businesses. He recognized that not all micro SMEs are empowered to operate their respective digital operation in terms of like entering into e-commerce, or in fact even getting access sometimes to a stable internet. And that is the reason why he's saying iba-ibang level yan. What we have to address, of course, is a strong internet infrastructure, as well as the access of micro SMEs to the internet, to be able to maximize, let's say, getting information, data, e-commerce, and financial technology in terms of e-payments eventually. He knows that eventually the economy is really going towards that direction, digitalizing business. So at this point, ang sinabi niya talaga, very important to provide a lot of training, retraining, education for the micro SMEs. And I guess the population in general, so that we really have a high quality workforce, no, and technology oriented Filipinos. So those are the key messages. He also mentioned that in globalization, as he emphasized the principle of having a win-win-win arrangement, and that respect for sovereignty, mutual respect for sovereignty, such that respect for the principle that we have adopted as a country, and our president has mentioned time and again that we are friend to everyone and enemy to no one. So yun po ang kanyang big messages in his interventions. So that probably would be the opening intro. This morning session, we left a bit early. Frankly, the president attended the morning session right from the start, and although we're not sure whether he was able to intervene towards the latter part since we left earlier. So yun lang, but a lot of some economies are giving their messages, no, yung mga heads of states. And the discussion this morning evolved around again the same thing, embracing digitalization, protecting micro SMEs, making them part of the global value chain. And I think it's also digitalization, technology that is a great equalizer, to the extent that you are empowering also the micro SME. But we have to make sure that these guys are really trained, and therefore the importance of education. Kaya we are reminded also as we plan yung education system as well as yung vocational technical system natin under TESDA, isasama natin ang mga all these courses and topics about digitalization, para alam nating maikalat natin itong kaalaman na to. Thank you. Questions? Yes, Ace.
Sec, isa sa mga naging issue sa APEC yung naging trade tiff between US and China, di ba?
Mhm.
Kitang-kita doon sa speech ni Vice President Pence, pati ni Prime Minister Xi. Ano yung position ng Philippines regarding that?
You know, ang Pilipinas kasi, of course, those are two big economies, and again, we are a friend to both, no? We in fact are enhancing our trade relationship with China. They've been opening up their market for us, And then on the other hand, even U.S. is opening up their market through the GSP and possible enhancement of our trade relations. So, Antayo, I think the main principle we follow, and this is where the mutual, the so this is where the respect for sovereignty is really important. That we say that as long as we keep the trade relation really open, free, fair, and right now we're also working on more reciprocity. No, we're trying to also renegotiate some of our trade deals, asking for preferential tariff on some of our products, to the extent that we also extend, favorable tariffs to those countries. So we are working on this, and so we follow that principle. We don't have to, frankly, we don't have to side with anyone, but there may merit in both arguments, frankly. But the reality also is we agree that we have to strengthen the WTO, the rules-based system. But the reality is there are also emerging regional trade groups, di ba? You have the ASEAN. Now, beyond ASEAN, we are working on the RCEP. In other regions, you have the former NAFTA into a new economic grouping, as well, of course, as the EU. So there are those, what they call now, international trading systems. And those are the realities. But obviously, we should not drop also the idea of keeping a very strong WTO and rules-based multilateral system.
Okay, follow up ko lang, Sec. Kasi may report yung APEC recently. Nagkaroon ng trade slowdown partly because of the trade tension. And sabi niya, yung trade is no longer an engine growth as it used to be sa APEC region. And we have to find alternative sources of growth. On our part, ano yung nakikita nyo alternative sources of growth given na yung trade ngayon medyo alanganin dahil nga ang daming uncertainties sa global landscape?
What is clear is that like trading goods usually would be the ones heavily affected. So ang kanina, what's being really promoted is to look into other forms of trade, which is services. Doon, there's still a lot of room for improvement, enhancing trade in services. Of course, more arrangement when it comes to investment cooperation, promoting mga joint ventures, and other technical cooperation. Nandun pa yung mga avenues wherein all countries, in fact, in APEC, those are really the topics being enhanced. Yung the cooperation in those different fields. Hindi lang sa trade. In fact, as you know, APEC is non-binding. Diba? Wala naman tayong binabind dito. Ang ating mga bound trading terms are with the regional, the ASEAN, now RCEP, and even in WTO, we have bound rates. So yun talaga yung mga may bound rates. APEC is really a platform to cooperate on many of these. Of course, dyan din napapag-usapan yung if there are issues on trade, on investment, and other rules, and but all forms of cooperation dito pumapasok. And now, it's really on this digitalization, micro SMEs. And yesterday, we were able to watch the Pacific Islands Group, ang pinaka-main concern, climate change. So, very important din yung cooperation on how to address climate change that will affect not only their economy, but their existence.
Sir, Janeline Kabiling from Manila
Janeline.
Bulletin. Sir, do you have any appeal to the United States and China to end their trade conflict? And what do you think are what's the impact of this conflict on Philippine industries? Which industries are being affected by this trade war?
So yes, we have long mentioned that appeal. It's a generic appeal, really, na nobody wins in a trade war, and that ideally, both will go back to the negotiating table and settle the differences and agree on new trade terms that would be mutually beneficial to the two countries. Yun ang, I think what's the end of this is that this imposition of tariff really from both sides, of course one could be a reaction from the action made by one side. It's really to, in the end, I think ang intention to bring them back to the negotiating table. yung I think US wanting China to discuss new terms with them and to come up with mutually agreeable terms. So everybody in the world would like to see this end, obviously, and mag-usap na sila. Ang but the immediate impact to us, as we reported before, is that at least yung sa atin, we're a small economy, we are still enjoying, again, better market access to both countries. Hindi tayo affected in a major way. In fact, we mentioned before na to a certain extent merong benefit siya because some companies really are approaching us to relocate, to expand in our country, in the Philippines, and maybe they're looking also at other countries. No? But at least in our end, we're getting inquiries in this regard to relocate some of their operations so that we can, they locate here, they enjoy our market access with our trading partners, ng mga ASEAN and the future RCEP and our future FTA with any other country, hopefully with the US also, our GSP preference with EU and the US, and then we have a new FTA with EFTA. They see those advantages if they look in the country. They recognize a lot of reforms we're doing: infrastructure, tax reform, liberalizing foreign equity restrictions. So they know, and we have the sweet demographic sweet spot right now, and a lot of positive developments, enlarging consumer base. Young population that is more employed now with more income, etc. So they see this, and they see this as an attractive environment for investment. Kaya talagang may konting benefit pa siya ang bottom line.
Sir, just your position on the trade protectionism which the other leaders have been opposing, especially America's first policy. Ano pong position ng Philippines?
Of course, our position is we're anti-protectionism. Kasi in the end, baka sa atin tumama yan, especially if there are products. As you remember, the first launch of that protectionism, it covers different provisions in the U.S. Trade Act, di ba? The 201, 301, 401. I won't go to the specifics, but the 201 is where we got hit partially, the solar panels. No? But since we're not a major exporter of that, kaya sinasabi natin, it's really minimal. In fact, we're arguing we are below the minimis. In other words, we can get exempted. So that's being worked on. The 401 is about for national security. Kaya sinama dun yung mga, di ba, yung mga steel products, aluminum. So doon din, we export a bit. We are net importer of steel, but we are a net exporter of aluminum. But again, our export to the U.S. is not that big. So we again have a written request for them to exempt us. So that's being worked out now by our trade representative. Kasi yung aluminum natin, maliit lang at saka isa factory lang ang maatatamaan, if ever. So ito lang yung, of course, kaya yung trade, yung tariff protection is really against globalization. So dapat talaga walang ganon. You should continue with this track of globalizing because at the end of the day, wala nga mananalo sinabi natin. At kung hindi man tayo maapektuhan, even the countries imposing that can be affected. Mamahal ang presyo sa kanila, yung consumers or the end users in their country, 'di ba? Pag tumaas ang tariff ng mga ini-import nila, nagagamitin sa production nila, tataas yung cost nila. Or to consumer goods yun, tataas yung presyo sa consumer. So hindi rin non-beneficial to them. Also, if they have companies outside and that may mga tariff na inimpose sila, and assuming those, let's say, companies are re-exporting back to the country, mataas yung tariff. Naapektuhan yung mga companies that are located in other countries exporting, let's say, to the US. So, kaya nga, it's really against the tide. I think kailangan lang siguro masolve nila yung problema nilang dalawa para mabante uli yung process ng globalization. The trend really is a general reduction. It's really not, I guess, logical to have a reverse, in that tide of globalization. That's the general trend. So what I'm saying is that kung meron silang mga particular concern, they should settle it.
Sir,
Hopefully soon, sooner than later.
Sir Vivian Gul.
Sino?
Sir Vivian Gulia from
Vivian.
ABS-CBN. During the meetings, I wonder if there was a consensus reached among participating countries regarding this position against protectionism and in favor of free trade.
Not aware of such discussion, but I can venture to say that nobody will be in favor of protectionism. As you hear around the table, every time mga nagsuusap sila, they're all concerned about mga growing protectionism, and they are all just wishing that it should not be the trend moving forward. So, yeah.
Sir, yesterday, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence also warned against foreign debts from China's Belt and Road Initiative, and I understand that the Philippines, according to Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin, will be signing an agreement when President Xi Jinping visits the Philippines regarding this Belt and Road Initiative. Do you think it's a good idea to push through with it?
Of course. Siyempre, ang ating gobyerno, Department of Finance and the other agencies have reviewed the terms that would be the best for us. Hindi naman tayo papasok if those are unreasonable terms and terms that are worse than, other sources. And that based on numbers also, from what I remember, we are not over-leveraged. In other words, we can really absorb more debts as long as maganda ang terms. And the report last time of the Department of Finance, ang gaganda nung terms na nakukuha natin. Very concessional. It's like, I think, 30-year or more. And then, very low rates. And of course, the prices also of these projects are what we can say really reasonable or better than the others.
The U.S. is saying that it could compromise sovereignty. What's your
Hindi
position
man.
on that?
No. We're very clear on sovereignty. Mutual respect for sovereignty is very solid as far as we're concerned.
Sir, Jam sa Santa
Jam,
GMA.
yes, Jam.
Sir, just going back to what you said earlier about digitalization of SMEs, what particular programs does the government have in place or will put in place to operationalize that? Like, for example, did you have in mind the entry of the third telco? And how can we work with other countries to achieve those goals?
Yeah, thank you. Even as we speak, several years ago, we've started with this digitalization in all, like example, a very clear example, in all our seminars to companies, whether big or small, we inject already kung may financial literacy, may digital literacy rin as mga subject matters, so that we can really orient the operators, those in businesses, to make use of digital technology. There are several platforms being developed now that introduces e-payments. Central Bank even is at the forefront in terms of providing some kind of a central bank for e-payments. So very at the forefront ang pag-push ng financial inclusion ng central bank natin, and therefore a lot of independent private sector developers of fintech are coming out, and they're introducing several platforms for e-payment and all those sort that are now being used by micro SMEs. So ang SMEs actually hindi naman sila kailangang mag-develop ng platform na yun. Meron nang magde-develop, and they will simply enroll and ride on it, di ba? So you have the Paymaya, you have the the fintech, fintech with the Q, different platforms kung saan pwedeng mag-enroll in terms of e-payment, kung saan pwedeng mag-enroll in terms of e-commerce. You have takatak.com. Even our DOST came up with onestore.ph kung saan it's a platform where micro SME products can be uploaded and be given exposure to the world market, actually, because it's already in that www platform. So ongoing po ito, and we just have to strengthen and really make it available to the remote area. So pag nagkaroon na ng internet access yung mga remote areas, yung training niyan can really, this training even can be online training, as you know, di ba? So accessible na yung training, hindi ka na kailangang maggawa ng physical seminar doon. Through online, the people in the remotest area, basta may internet signal, may Wi-Fi, can already avail of training. That's a lot of empowerment that we can give out there. And last time we were talking also about AI, preparing for AI, and this training to be oriented with AI systems are also made available now online. Parang yung mga kababayan natin na sa malayo can be oriented, no, with AI system so that they now can operate this and not be unemployed. Hindi sila matanggal sa trabaho because alam nilang i-operate to. Because the AI does not necessarily replace people. The people will have to manage the AI system this time. No, as AI is used in, let's say, in a BPO. So yun yung panlaban dyan sa AI na yan. Kung hindi ka magte-train, talagang pwede kang mawalan ng trabaho kasi talagang AI will replace you. But as AI replaces a person, and another person is needed to run the AI. So yun yung ano yan. It's like your ATM before, nung inintroduce ang ATM sa bangko. Di ba, akala mawawalan na ng mga tellers, ng mga trabahador sa bangko. Sa dami ng ATM ngayon, nakikita nyo pa rin ang tellers, but nagre-reorient yung nature ng function nila. Hindi lang teller, kung hindi may account management, they have other value-added services that they provide. So yun yung mga training and retraining na kailangan nila.
Sir Marita Muahe po, PTV4. Sir, kakatapos lang nung MOA signing ng DA and PNG on the Joint Rice Development Project. How about trade agreements? Meron po ba tayo?
Walang trade agreement, but we signed yesterday the Memorandum of Understanding to promote joint economic trade cooperation. Joint economic and trade cooperation. I can give you the details, but usually yan yung first step whenever you want to enhance trade with a country. So you provide it's like a platform or a regular mechanism kung saan magmi-meet ang mga working group, technical group, exchange information, trade data, mga business mission, investment mission to both sides, no? Where we play an active role in developing, let's say, the PNG education system. Some manufacturing companies are here already, especially tuna processing companies. So yun nga, yung mga universities, colleges, pinangako or sinabi po ng ating presidente na tutulong din siya na para makatulong sa education system dito. Like ang mga PNG leaders, sinabi nila na gusto nilang dumami pa ang kanilang universities and colleges. They believe in the Philippine education system. In fact, that's why they send a lot of students to the Philippines. Davao, Cebu, Manila. No? So marami silang estudyante doon. Pinagpipilian nila usually Australia and Philippines. So sabi nila, mas marami na yata silang pinapadala sa Pilipinas. No? So they believe in the education system, so gusto nilang dalhin dito. Just a few minutes ago, before coming over, I chanced upon the Minister of, I think it's economic planning and all that. They also want to develop a stronger banking system here. So nagpapatulong din siya, kumausap din sa mga ibang nasa financial banking sector natin at mga actual banks who can possibly invest here. So a lot of potential here in PNG when it comes to all these fields, no? Financial sector, banks, manufacturing, education, medical services. Yun din ang kailangan nila, mga health services.
Sir,
Yan.
on the president's schedule, may we know why the president decided to abandon his plan to cut short his trip and attend today's summit?
Hindi ko rin alam eh. Oo, it's the decision of the president. Una-una, hindi ko alam na maaga siya, yung na-report na maaga uwi. So yun. So, tama lang na nag-stay nga siya. So, hindi ko alam kung ano yun, kung ano yung nangyari doon.
But you were asked to represent him last night. What happened? Why didn't attend the gala dinner, the gala dinner?
Yung Gail, I don't know, maybe he's not feeling well. I'm not sure. I'm not privy to the condition of the president. Ako naman, a marching order to attend and to represent. Si President naman, sabi niya, ang usually would like to regain energy para maka-attend siguro yung ngayon. Siguro that's the reason. Kaya gusto niya magpahinga para maka-attend. But as you know, minsan sinasabi niya may nararamdaman siya, di ba? Yung sa likod, yung spine and all that. So, we don't know kung ano yung nakaka-apekto sa kanya. So, kaya may decision niya yon kung gusto niya magpahinga muna to nurse his yung pain, ano. But frankly, we don't know. But the more important thing is he's here. He's attending all these meetings. Okay? Thank you. Salamat po. Good afternoon.
Last question. Sir, last one na lang. Sir, the bedrock, the bedrock principle of the apex bedrock principle of multilateralism appears to be increasingly challenged.
Well, explain natin kanina.
What's the danger if we roll back?
Hindi naman siya hindi naman siya increasingly challenged. Siguro may ilan lang na nagke-question, but I think almost all countries are saying naman that it's still needed, a multilateral trading arrangement. It's everyone is looking for a open free trade, may rules based dito sa WTO. And yet all of these countries are also participating in different trading systems, international trading systems. So hindi yung may nagtanong sa akin dati magko-collapse ba yung WTO? No. Hindi. It's solid. Ang dami, almost all our supporters. So let it be. Kung may nagke-question, then let him throw the question. But I think the organization has been there for so many years. Almost all countries are in support. And that, I guess, it's just a recognition that there are other regional, sub-regional groups that are emerging, and each of those groups would normally have their own rules as well, di ba? So that's fine, because no one is prevented from forming groups. If the objective is to enhance the trade, investment, services, trade in goods, then mas makakabuti yun. Again, more trade is synonymous to creating higher incomes. So, walang mag-o-object diyan in the end. Talagang it's the norm, no? It will create more income. So, and that's the important thing that we should continue. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, friends from the media, and thank you, Secretary Ramon Lopez, Secretary Martin Andanar, and Secretary Carlos Dominguez.